I have spent more than a year overseeing the production of an archival vinyl box set, from securing the licensing to the packaging to the artwork to the promotion. Collected 1998 through 2004 from Blue October. I'm going to tell you all about it on this episode of Talking About Records. My name is G.I. Sanders from NTX Vinyl. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. You can also follow us at NTX Vinyl on Facebook and Instagram. I am here today to talk about this. The band is called Blue October. If you're not familiar with them, they originate from the Houston, San Marcos area of Texas. I have a long history with the band and their management, which is how I am connected and how I was able to get involved with this box set. I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory, and then obviously I want to show you the box set. But long story short, I know the band's management very well, and they came to me with the opportunity to oversee this project. And when I say project, I mean it, because there are a lot of moving parts when you're producing a record, much less multiple records and a custom box and custom components that go in it, right? The backstory as far as my personal history is, I was actually in a band back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and we were managed by the same company that still manages these guys. They have gone on to an incredible career. They're still an active band, still writing, recording, and releasing music. This box set goes back to the very beginning of their career, and there's a lot of cool things about it, but one of the coolest things is that none of these albums included in this box set have ever been released on vinyl before, so that's a big deal. Let's see, first and foremost, when we talk about producing a vinyl record, you have to talk about the music itself. And in this case, it was interesting because the band owned two of the albums that are included in this, but Universal Records owned the other two. And so step number one was figuring out if we were going to be able to even do it. And that took a while. It was a process to get in touch with the right people at Universal Records, as you can imagine, a very large company. And they have hundreds, if not, well, they have hundreds of active artists that they're working and promoting that are still signed to the label, putting out music, and that is the vast majority of the priority. But there is a person or persons, small team of people at Universal who deal with what are called legacy artists. So if you were once signed to Universal, doesn't matter if it's going back 20, 30 years or 10, 15 years, whatever it is, and you're no longer signed to them, you're a legacy act. And so you're not going to get a lot of attention unless you're a top tier act as far as, global fame and that type of thing. But for an artist like Blue October, they were signed, again, late 90s, early 2000s, and that went through the mid 2000s, and then they went independent. They've been independent on their own ever since. Couple deals here and there from a distribution standpoint, but by and large, they own all their own music since they left Universal, I believe. So the second and third albums in this box set, I'm going to show you, were owned by Universal. So we had to navigate getting the licensing, which is always tricky, but we were able to do that, and that's what enabled us to go back to the beginning, because there was a discussion of, we wanted to produce a vinyl box set, but what was going to go in it? For me personally, I love the archival aspect of going in order, chronologically. So that's what this is, and I was very excited that Universal collaborated with us to allow us to put those records out. So once that was determined, okay, we're going to start at the beginning. We're going to go from the very first album. Then the project started to take shape, because we could start to determine, how many records should go in a box set, how many is too many, what else are we going to include, what's the box going to look like, how expensive is this going to be to make, how many of them are we going to make, what is the price point going to be. These are all questions that we had to answer. Now, I've sold a lot of records owning NTX Vinyl, and I've sold a lot of box sets, and I own a lot of box sets, so I have a lot of expertise in that area and was able to kind of to assist, which was the job at hand, to determine what would be best. And so for me, it was start from the beginning. It was give the fans what they want, which is the albums that have never been on vinyl before, starting at the very beginning. Really cool extras, high quality packaging, high quality production, not only from the packaging, but also the audio, very important, and any extras that are included. So these are just things I was keeping in mind at the very, very beginning as I was collaborating with the band's management and with the band themselves. Incredible opportunity for me to be involved in this. Just I'm still to this day flabbergasted that it's sitting here, and every time I see it, it's just like when you work on something for a year and then it comes to life and it's in your hands, it's a special thing, right? So first and foremost, let's talk about the box itself, because I do, and I'll talk about the music all throughout, but I worked with a couple of incredible designers. I designed some of it myself, but the bulk of it was done a couple designers that have worked with the band in the past. And so the collected title was something, again, that I think makes sense if you're doing chronological. And I wanted to do a nice sturdy box. You can kind of see, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's some kind of gloss coating on the back. There's some gloss on the side here. And it's a really nice kind of a matte finish on the front, which is beautiful. And then you have an angled inner box, which is really, really cool. And I'll actually show you the prototype. So this is the prototype for the box, because when you're doing custom work like this, there are certain box set styles, like a clamshell box, which just kind of opens like a top and bottom piece, or a pizza box that kind of folds open, that are kind of standard. But when it comes to something like this, the actual width of it and everything that you're included is completely custom. So you actually have to do a prototype. So here's the prototype sent from the printer that you have to actually sign off on. And this is built completely custom to spec based on the thickness of everything we're included in the box, right? So once we got the prototype, and I felt how sturdy it was, and I saw the coating and what it was going to look like, that gave us a lot of confidence to start really building. So the box itself is something I'm really proud in. We've got printing on the inside of the same kind of roses pattern, which is really cool. And then the angled piece has the roses on here as well. So really happy with how all of that turned out. The reviews in general for all of this have just been spectacular, which obviously is huge, because again, you work on something for a year, myself and the band's management and everyone else, the designers, audio engineers, everyone who pitched in to make this come to life. It's a big project, and so it's really exciting when it comes together and the package is absolutely beautiful, which this is. So I'm going to talk about the contents now. So we did two versions of this. They're very close. This is the super deluxe version. There's a deluxe and a super deluxe, because they're both very, very extravagant. They're high-end box sets. Again, none of these albums have never been on vinyl before. So the super deluxe contained a couple of items that made it special that are not included in the deluxe, and I'll show you those first. So first of all, we did what we call the collectible album laminates. These are cool. They're glossy. And they've got the track list on the back, which with the run times on the vinyl LPs, catalog number, everything. So these are really cool kind of collectible. These only came in the super deluxe album laminates, which are just kind of commemorative pieces. You could frame them all together, which is really cool. So those are kind of some cool extras only in the super deluxe. Then we also have the poster. Now, the poster is really cool because, for a couple reasons. First of all, it's huge. And the cool thing for me about this poster is that this was actually a tour poster that I designed back in 2002 for the band from the same image. So it was cool to be able to bring that back together. So the poster is included in the Super Deluxe. And then also, very important, the signed lithograph. So signed by the band. This is a really thick cardstock with a similar gloss coating that's on the back and side of the box. So the signed lithograph and the poster and the laminates are the extras in the Super Deluxe, which are really, really nice. Signing and numbering is a thing. People take it for granted. They think, well, why didn't they just sign the boxes? I can tell you, there was 500 of the Super Deluxe, and I had to sign and number all of these. This is a promotional copy of mine, but all of these are signed and numbered, number 1 through 500, which I numbered myself, and then the band had to sign each one of them. It takes a lot of work to do that stuff. It's a lot of logistically. Like, I saw a comment about someone saying, I wish the boxes were signed. I'll show you a picture here. I'll put it up of the number of pallets that these boxes took up. It was a massive, massive room full of empty boxes. And so there's just no way that you want to take the chance of shipping all those and unpacking them, and the band side, it's just not going to happen, right? So a signed lithograph, whether it's in a single LP or a box set, that's why that exists. It's logistically does not make sense. So that's a really cool piece. Then everything else I'll show you is contained in the Deluxe and the Super Deluxe. So we did a slip mat, which is really cool. Again, with the roses design. That's really a felt slip mat. And then the booklet. So the designer on the booklet, Jared McDowell, did an incredible job. Everybody involved in this, Sean, who works with the management team, also did an incredible job designing all this stuff. But the booklet, which contains archival imagery, we went and reached out to a ton of photographers that have worked with the band over the years. Because again, this is going back 25 years. So we had to kind of, it's easy to find photos of the band from the last couple of years because they're still active, they're still touring. But to go back and find photos from the late 90s, early 2000s was a little more difficult. But we were able to source a ton of photography from fans, from the band members and their archives. 36-page booklet with pretty much photos that have never been reproduced in any form, and a lot of them never seen by people. So this is a real gem and something that is really important, a really important piece, and for the history, right? So you've got the laminates, the felt slip mat, the poster, the booklet, and then you got the records. So 4 album set, 3 studio albums, and 1 live album. I really like the idea of doing the live album. We toyed with the idea of just doing the first 4 studio albums, which I'll talk about that. But this live album is really important, and I think it's a fan favorite. So it was very important to include. So the first album, 1998, an album called The Answers. This album was originally released independently by the band, and it's what got them some initial attention in the industry. The remastering on this one in particular is incredible. If you listen to what's out there from a streaming standpoint, maybe on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, the recording, because it was done in 98, because the band was independent, it leaves a lot to be desired. But this remastered sounds absolutely wonderful. So I was super excited to be able to bring this to the fans, a whole new remastered version, which sounds fantastic. All of these LPs, we did 180 gram gatefolds. Like I said, none have ever been released on vinyl before. And the main special thing about these two, one of the special things, is that the versions in this box set are all on colored vinyl. And it's the only time you're going to be able to get them on colored vinyl. That's very important. These albums will come out independently, standalone, at your local record store in 2025. But they will not be colored vinyl versions. These versions are only included in the box set. So double LP on The Answers from 1998. There was enough music for 3 sides. So on the 4th side, we did an etching, which is really, really cool. It's going to be hard to see, but it's an etching of the rose. And it's kind of unique to do an etching on a translucent vinyl because you can see the swirl in there and you can also see the etching. So that was really cool. I'd never done an etching before, so it was really cool to be able to see what that process looked like. These were all pressed. Everything was pressed and manufactured locally here in Dallas, Texas at Hand Drawn Pressing. There's an incredible manufacturing facility. Great people there. We did lyric inserts for all of them, which is really, really nice. So you've got the full lyrics, double LP, colored vinyl. Again, none of these ever on vinyl before, so it's something that the fans have been asking for years and years and years. You got to keep in mind the timing is important here. So again, 1998 through 2004, very much considered the dark days of vinyl. By that I mean there is no vinyl being produced. Only the top tier artists in those periods got their albums produced on vinyl, because it was all about the CD then, right? So mid 90s through kind of the 2010, let's just say that 10-15 year period is when, very little was getting pressed from a vinyl perspective. So none of these albums ever been on vinyl before. Then you move on to the sophomore album. So by this time, the band had signed to Universal. So this is the first album, this one and the second one, or the sophomore LP and their third album, or the Universal titles. This was the one that kind of put the band on the map a little bit nationally. Consent to Treatment, really fantastic record. Again, gatefold. We had to reproduce all of the artwork. In some cases, we had original files for artwork. In a lot of cases, we didn't, and we had to upscale the art, but it turned out absolutely phenomenal as far as how it looks visually, and the gatefolds and the packaging. Again, 180 gram vinyl, really, really cool. This one we did on a red translucent. It was really fun to get to pick out which colors would work well with each of these albums. That's obviously a very fun part of the job. What colors they're going to be, what kind of effects. So we did each of the 3 studio albums on kind of a translucent colored LP with a swirl effect. And again, you've got complete lyrics for each of the albums, which is really, really cool. Consent to Treatment was interesting because the band signed to Universal, released this album, and then Universal dropped them. Then the band hooked up with the management company, Rainmaker Artists, which I'm still working with, because they're still managed with them today. And they wrote and recorded and released History for Sale independently, or on an indie label owned by the management company. So put it out. And then the majors came calling again. And you know who they signed with? Universal. So Universal put out Consent to Treatment. Didn't sell as well as they'd hoped. They dropped the band. The band went and wrote and recorded History for Sale, released it themselves more or less independently. And then Universal came back and re-signed them. Incredible story. 2003, History for Sale comes out. The lead single from this, Calling You, was a pretty big hit, especially on radio in Texas and in the South and across the U.S. The band at this point is touring nationally, starting to inch into some international touring, which is really cool. This one we did on a green and black translucent, which is really cool. I love this album. At this time in 2002, 2003, when I was in a band, we got to tour with Blue October again, since we were on the same management company, and it was just a great time. They were just Blue October was just becoming like a live juggernaut, where they were starting to just play crazy, several hundred shows a year, really putting in the time. And this album was my favorite song on this is Chameleon Boy. I absolutely love it. I also love Clumsy Card House, Ugly Side, Razor Blade, Quiet Mind, Interlow, some fantastic songs on this. So History for Sale, first time on vinyl as well. Really, really cool. Love this record. Consent and History for Sale are 2 of my favorite records from the band, from their whole catalog. Next up is the live release. So 3 studio albums, their first 3, 98, 2000, and 2003. And then in 2004, they did their first ever live album, which is Argue with a Tree. A very special time in the band's career. Again, they were, like I mentioned, starting to really become an amazing live band, and this documents it. What's cool about this for me personally is back in 2004, I produced the artwork for this. This is the double CD version, which is really cool. Double CD, also DVD. So if you look on these from back in the day, my name's on them as far as production and design. And then here we are, 20 years later, and I get to produce the LP. Just incredible and very, very surreal. So Argue with a Tree was recorded at a theater in Dallas, Texas, called the Lakewood Theater, which is, I think, now a bowling alley. This is a triple LP. trifold, gatefold, which is really cool. We had to reproduce, obviously, a lot of the art to be able to fit like that. And this one, again, 3 LPs. We did on a gray marble swirl. This one's more of an opaque. It's got a little translucency to it, but more of an opaque. Turned out really, really beautiful. Had this remastered. It's a ton of tracks on this album. And I also want to show you, there is a really cool, not a lyric insert, since this is the live album, we didn't do a lyric insert on it since all the lyrics are on the other albums already. This one we did kind of a photo insert, which has the original set list and photos from the show. Again, it's released on DVD. You can watch the entire film, which we also brought back to life. You can watch that. Get that link on the band's website, blueoctober.com, so you can go watch the Argue with a Tree film. And now for the first time ever, you have it on vinyl, which is just, again, completely surreal to be able to work on this. So 3 double LPs, a triple LP, plus the 36-page booklet, the poster, the laminates, the slip mat. Just an incredible box set. I'm so proud of how it came out. I'm so thankful that I was able to work on such a unique piece of history for the band, to go back in their archives and produce this type of set for them. I love how every piece of it turned out. It's exceeded my expectations in every way from a production standpoint. It sounds phenomenal. That's obviously very, very important here. I didn't show this. This was one of the cool things. So the answers, here's the actual puck. One of the PVC pucks from the pressing plant, from the yellow vinyl. I didn't get one for consent to treatment, but here's the dark green one. You can probably, just looks black to you. And then the gray one from Argue with a Tree. So it's cool to be able to go down to the pressing plant while they were pressing these records and actually oversee that. So I've got video of it being pressed. I've got video of it being packaged. The other cool part about this is once you bring it to life, you know, it took basically 8 to 9 months to produce all of this from the very beginning. Once we secured the licensing, then getting the albums remastered, redoing all the artwork, prototyping the box and all of the elements, making sure it all fits. Then it all gets produced. Then you got to promote the thing. So one of the coolest parts about this is now I'm getting to do stuff like this where I talk about it, getting to do promotional videos and photography for the band, which is a big piece of it. So still a lot of that happening now. But it's just been, man, a labor of love. Again, a real privilege to get to work on a project like this. And I know from a lot of the fans' perspective, it's just been a gift because, again, first time on vinyl on all of these. They didn't have anything released on vinyl until I think their 6th or 7th album. So the next album after this, which is in 2006, an album called Foiled, was actually their biggest album from a sales perspective. So I'm excited for what 2026 may bring, which would be the 20th anniversary of Foiled. And if you are extrapolating out, maybe there'll be another collected box set that may include that and some other albums from the band. So stoked to be able to work on this. It has been a long road. But I'll tell you now that once you do something once, it gets a lot easier. So the next box set or box sets are going to be a little bit easier to produce because we kind of have the template of what we want to do now. We've set a standard as far as quality concerned, and we're going to uphold that. So I'm just super excited to be able to show this and talk about it. It's been a long time coming. It is still available as of right now. You can go to the band's website, check it out, blueoctober.com. 2 different versions, the Deluxe and the Super Deluxe. Stoked to show it to you. If you have any questions, comments on the box set, on the band, happy to field them. Otherwise, check it out on their website. Go check out the band, blueoctober.com. They're still very active. They're writing a new album right now, and they're still out there touring. So just a really cool opportunity for me personally and for NTX Vinyl to just be involved. It's out on the band's own label, Up Down Records. I was just partnered with them on that. So love to talk about this stuff. Thanks for listening to me, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again next time on another episode of Talking About Records.